Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever, scrolled through social media or maybe used one of your smart devices and just got that feeling, that little nudge that your personal information isn't quite your own?
Oh, definitely.
Like your digital life is just an open book for these big tech companies where all your private details are kind of just out there and you don't really know where it's going or like who's actually benefiting from it.
Yeah, it's a huge concern, and it's growing all the time. It's almost universal now.
Right.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into JasmyCoin. It's this really fascinating project out of Japan, and their whole goal is basically to fundamentally flip that script.
Flip the script. Okay. How ways?
Well, we've dug into a whole load of analytical reports to really understand their plan.
Right.
They want to give you back genuine control, maybe even actual ownership of your personal data.
Okay, so our mission today is to cut through all the tech jargon, try and understand Jasmy's, well, pretty ambitious vision, right?
Very ambitious.
And see if it really offers a path, maybe a shortcut, to being properly informed about our digital rights. And I guess figure out what our data is actually worth.
Exactly. Let's get into it.
So let's start right at the beginning. What's the actual real-world problem that JasmyCoin is trying to fix? Why should someone listening care about all this data stuff in their everyday life?
Well, the core problem is that in this super connected world we live in, data really has become the new gold. Seriously.
Right.
Every single smart device you own, your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also your fitness tracker, your smart car, even like your smart fridge, is constantly churning out massive amounts of personal data.
All the time.
Yeah, about your habits, what you like, your whole life, basically.
Yeah.
And in the current system, what we call Web 2.0,
Yeah.
these tech giants, Google, Amazon, Facebook, they collect it all. They control it. And crucially, they often make money off it.
Okay.
And here's the real kicker. They mostly do this without your, explicit consent. Often you don't fully understand what you're agreeing to.
Those long terms and conditions nobody reads.
Exactly. And you certainly don't get any direct benefit from it. These platforms, they essentially turn you, the user, into the product they're selling.
Wow. So my data is being used, analyzed, probably sold, and I'm not even getting a thank you note. It feels like they're just reaching into our digital pockets without even asking.
That's pretty much it, yeah. And this centralized control, it creates huge risks. You've got potential data breaches, exposing sensitive info.
Yeah, we hear about those all the time.
Right, and privacy invasions for really targeted, sometimes kind of creepy marketing. And ultimately, you just lose control over your own digital identity. It's a system where your information is this valuable thing being traded, often behind closed doors, and you, the individual, you're just left out.
That is a powerful problem. And yeah, I think that resonates with a lot of people. So how does Jasmy propose to, like you said, flip this script? What's their main goal? Can you give us a simple way to picture it?
Sure. Jasmy's core mission, they call it data democracy.
Data democracy. Okay.
Yeah. So picture this. Instead of your personal data being scattered all over the place on different company servers, Jasmy wants to give you the keys to your very own, high-tech personal digital safe.
My own safe.
Exactly. They call it a personal data locker, or PDL. And the idea is you, and only you, decide who gets access to what's inside that safe, for what reason, and maybe even for what price. So companies who want that data, they have to come directly to you, metaphorically knock on your digital safe door, and ask for permission. And they might offer you payment, probably in Jasmy tokens, for specific insights from your data.
Okay, hold on. So it's like I'm the landlord of my own information.
That's it.
And companies have to pay me rent if they want to use it.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
That really nails it.
Okay, that makes sense. That simplifies it a lot.
The core idea is just to return the ownership and the control of personal data back to the people who actually create it, us, individuals. They want to break that monopoly big tech has over your digital life and put the power back where it belongs.
Okay, that's a really clear and honestly quite appealing vision. But how does this personal digital safe, this PDO thing, actually work? In practice, can you walk us through maybe the simplified steps or the main parts?
Absolutely. Let's break it down. Jasmy's system cleverly combines some existing, pretty solid technologies to make this happen. It's like different layers working together.
Okay.
So first, you have the personal data locker itself, the PDL. That's your individual digital safe we talked about. It securely stores all the data coming in from your various Internet of Things, or IoT devices.
Right.
Now, what's smart here is that the actual data files, like the raw information, aren't stored directly on the blockchain. That would be super expensive and slow things down.
Ah, okay.
Instead, they keep the files in a decentralized network called IPFS. Stands for Interplanetary File System.
Interplanetary. Sounds fancy.
It does, but think of it like a distributed cloud storage.
Yeah.
Bits of your data are scattered across lots of computers around the world. It makes it really resilient and keeps it private. Only a kind of cryptographic fingerprint of that data, it's called a hash, gets recorded on the blockchain, which is Ethereum in this case.
Right, Ethereum. I've heard of that.
Yeah. So that hash proves the data hasn't been tampered with and confirms you own it. And, crucially, only you have the private keys to actually unlock and access your PDL.
Okay, so the PDL is the storage vault. Makes sense. But how do I actually, use it? How do I control who gets to peek inside?
Great question. That's the next piece. To make sure you have the final say, JASMY introduces something called the Secure Knowledge Communicator, or SKC.
SKC. Okay.
Think of this as a high-tech lock in the control panel for your safe. It does a couple of key things. It verifies your identity, like a digital ID check,
Right.
and it lets you manage all the permissions. So you can decide to grant access, say, just to anonymize statistics about how you use a device, not your personal details to a specific company, maybe just for a limited time. And then you can just revoke that access whenever you want.
So I'm fully in charge of the who, what, when.
Exactly. It's like your personal data concierge, carefully controlling who gets in.
That sounds really important for security. But what about the devices themselves? My smart thermostat or my laptop. How do I make sure they're securely linked to my safe and haven't been, hacked or something?
Good point. That brings us to the third component, the Smart Guardian, or SG.
Smart Guardian. Okay.
Think of the SG as, the top-level security detail for your actual devices. It securely registers and links your specific gadgets, your smart home stuff, maybe a secure laptop, even sensors in a factory setting, directly to your unique owner ID.
Ah.
This makes sure that only your authorized devices can actually send data into your PDL. It stops anyone else from trying to sneak data in or pretend to be one of your devices.
That's clever.
Yeah, and JASMY's actually put this into practice. They've developed products like the JASMY Secure PC with partners like VAIO and Transcosmos. These basically create a really locked down environment for your sensitive information. It's a big step for personal computing security.
Wow, so they have actual hardware too.
In partnership, yeah. And then finally, just to mention it, there's something called JASMYNet. This is more for the businesses. It's a kind of exclusive private network. It's built on what's called a consortium blockchain, meaning it's run by a select group of authorized companies, not totally open.
Right.
And it lets these corporate partners securely exchange and use the data among themselves, but only once you, the individual, have given them permission through your SKC.
It's really fascinating how they're layering these existing technologies like Ethereum and adding these control mechanisms on top. You mentioned Ethereum, but you also said they're working on making things faster and cheaper, right? Because Ethereum can get congested.
That's absolutely right. JasmyCoin itself, the token, is what's called an ERC20 token, so it lives on the Ethereum blockchain.
Okay.
But yeah, they recognized early on that Ethereum has scalability issues, and those high transaction fees, or gas fees, would make the kind of tiny frequent transactions needed for a data economy pretty impractical.
Right. Paying fees every time my fridge sends data would add up.
Exactly. So they are actively developing their own Layer 2 scaling solution. Think of it as a faster side road connected to the main Ethereum highway. They call it Jasmy Chain, though it used to be known as Junction.
Jasmy Chain. Got it.
This Layer 2, or L2, is built using technology from Arbitrum Orbit, which is a well-known scaling framework. They launched their testnet back in August 2025, and the whole point is to offer much faster and much cheaper transactions. And the JSMY token itself will be used to pay the gas fees on this new Jasmy chain. It's pretty crucial for making their whole model work economically at a large scale.
Okay, so they're definitely tackling the technical challenges, but
Right.
you hinted earlier there's a bit of an odd situation, almost a paradox, when it comes to how they're building all this. Something about transparency.
Yeah, it's interesting. While the whole project is about giving users transparency over their data, Jasmy's own internal development process is actually quite, opaque. Not very transparent at all.
Oh, how...
There's been very, very little public activity on platforms like GitHub, which is frankly highly unusual for a project in the blockchain space.
Really?
Yeah.
People usually share their code, right?
Generally, yes,
Yeah.
or at least show active development. But if you look at their main JasmyCoin code repository on GitHub, for example, there have only been a tiny number of updates or commits in its entire history. Activity was basically flat from 2020 until just a minor update in July 2024.
Ah,
It really suggests they're using a more traditional, closed-source corporate development model, which can be a bit of a concern for the crypto community, where the motto is often, don't trust, verify.
right. You can't verify if you can't see the code.
Exactly. You're basically relying on the team's announcements about progress
Yeah.
rather than being able to look under the hood yourself.
That is a curious contrast. Okay, but moving beyond the tech details and the development style, what are the real practical day-to-day benefits for someone listening if they were to actually use Jasmy's system? What's really in it for us?
Right, the bottom line. Well, the immediate tangible benefits are pretty significant, actually.
Okay.
First, and this is the big one, true data control and enhanced privacy. That's the
Yeah.
core promise, right? You actually get sovereign control back over your digital footprint.
Sovereign control. I like the sound of that.
Yeah. You decide who gets access, not some faceless corporation. That means, more peace of mind knowing your information is locked away in your PDL, only accessible with your keys.
Okay, that's huge. What else?
Second, and this is where it gets really interesting for a lot of people, monetization of your data.
Ah, the getting paid part.
Exactly. You could actually earn JSMY tokens from companies that want to access specific, usually anonymized pieces of your data.
So real money, potentially.
Potentially, yeah. Think about turning that passive stream of data your devices are always generating into an active income stream, but completely on your own terms. It totally shifts the dynamic from you being the product to you being the owner, the proprietor.
Okay, that's a game changer if it works at scale.
Big time. Third, there's secure devices and operations. We touched on this with the Smart Guardian and the Secure PC. Jasmy isn't just about controlling data in the cloud. They're also focused on building like a digital fortress around the very devices generating your data. That's super valuable for anyone working remotely or handling sensitive info.
Yeah, security is key.
Fourth, it helps foster an ethical data economy. Companies can get access to high-quality data that's been ethically sourced directly from users who have clearly consented.
Right, no more sneaky tracking.
Hopefully. This builds trust. It can lead to better, more personalized products and services, but without that creepy feeling of being spied on.
Okay.
And finally, looking ahead, there's future utility. Their roadmap for 2025 includes plans to expand how the Jasmy token can be used, not just for data payments, but maybe for things like fan tokens for sports teams. They mentioned the Segantosu Football Club, or even local community currencies. So embedding you more into a broader ecosystem.
Wow, so it's not just about protecting my data, which is great, but also potentially making some income from it and supporting more ethical data practices. That's a really fundamental shift from how things work now, where our data is just kind of taken for granted, usually for free.
It really is a paradigm shift they're aiming for.
That's a huge promise, and it definitely sounds appealing. But
Awesome.
I have to ask, this idea of getting paid for data, it almost sounds a bit too good to be true for many people. What's the realistic potential income here for just an average person? And what are the trade-offs? Like, how much effort or technical know-how is needed to manage all this?
That's a very fair point. And the honest answer is the income potential is still quite nascent. It's early days. It will really depend heavily on how widely adopted the platform becomes, and crucially, how much demand there is from those corporate partners wanting to buy data insights.
Right, supply and demand.
Exactly. And while Jasmy aims to make the user interface simple, an average user would still need to actively engage with it, go into their PDL dashboard, manage permissions, decide who gets access to what.
So it's not totally passive income.
Yeah, definitely not. The trade-off is moving from the current model where you're passively exploited to a new model where you're actively empowered. But that requires some level of engagement. It's a shift in user behavior for sure, but it comes with that promise of direct reward and control.
Okay, that makes sense. It sounds incredibly appealing, that vision. But, every innovative project, especially in crypto, faces challenges. Even with a strong team like ex-Sony execs, there must be hurdles. What are the big risks or the main criticisms that the sources you looked at highlight for JasmyCoin?
You're absolutely right. No project gets a free pass. And Jasmy faces some pretty significant challenges, hurdles they definitely need to overcome.
Okay, like what?
Well, probably the biggest red flag, especially for investors, is its historical tokenomics nightmare.
Tokenomics nightmare. Sounds bad.
It wasn't good. Now, for anyone less familiar, tokenomics just means the economics of the coin, how it's created, distributed, used. And in Jasmy's early days, their approach led to, well, a catastrophic price collapse.
Oh, wow. How bad?
In 2021-2022, they released almost all of the total supply of 50 billion JSMY tokens onto the market, quite aggressively, and for many, unexpectedly. This huge influx of supply caused the price to plummet over 99% from its all-time high, which was over $4, down to like fractions of a cent.
99%. Yikes.
Yeah, it massively damaged investor confidence, understandably, and it kind of removed that feeling of scarcity that often drives value in digital assets. For a while, it gave the token a bit of a zombie token reputation among some people in the crypto space.
Wow. Okay. Recovering trust after something like that must be incredibly hard. That's a huge hurdle right there. What about the other side of transparency, the development side you mentioned earlier?
Exactly. That ties into the second major risk, the lack of development transparency. As we discussed, that near-total silence on public platforms like GitHub is a real concern for the crypto community.
Right, the don't trust, verify issue.
Precisely. External developers, the community, they can't easily independently check the progress, audit the security, or really see how Jasmy is implementing its pretty ambitious roadmap. You're forced to rely purely on the team's official announcements, which isn't ideal in a space that values openness.
Okay, so transparency is an issue on multiple fronts. What else?
Another significant risk is low retail user adoption. Despite setting really ambitious goals, they talked about reaching 107 million personal data locker users and signing up 1,000 corporate partners.
107 million users. That's huge.
It is. But the current on-chain data, the actual blockchain activity, shows pretty low engagement from individual everyday users. We're talking maybe tens of thousands of token holders at any given time. Numbers seem to bounce between around 36,000 and 72,000. And the daily transaction count is really low, like around 800 transactions per day in mid-2024.
So not millions yet.
Not even close on the user side. Their success so far seems to be much more in the business-to-business B2B area, signing up those big Japanese corporate partners. But for data democracy to really work, they need massive adoption by regular people.
Right. The democracy part needs the people.
Okay.
And I suppose, like any crypto, it's vulnerable to the market.
Absolutely. That's the next risk, market vulnerability. Like any altcoin, JSMY's price can swing wildly based on what the broader crypto market is doing. Bitcoin goes up or down, JSMY likely follows.
Sure.
But more specifically for Jasmy, the project was actually placed in Binance's monitoring zone for a time, which is basically a watch list for potentially risky assets. And it even faced a community vote on Binance about whether it should be delisted entirely back in March 2025.
Oh, whoa, delisted. That's serious.
Very serious. Now, the token survived that vote thanks to strong community support rallying to keep it listed. But the fact that it even happened highlights how fragile its market position can be and how vulnerable it is to decisions made by major exchanges, as well as just general market mood swings.
Okay. And finally, any other major risks?
The last big one is regulatory risks outside Japan. This is interesting because Jasmy actually has a unique advantage in Japan. It's often touted as the first legal and compliant digital currency there, fully approved by Japan's Financial Services Agency, FSA.
So it's legit in Japan. That's good.
Very good for them.
Yeah.
But the problem is, how will its legal status, and particularly the legality of its whole pay users for data model, be viewed in other major markets? Think about the US, with the SEC potentially classifying it as a security, or Europe, with strict GDPR data privacy rules. These hurdles and other key jurisdictions could really limit its global reach and stop it from going truly mainstream outside of Japan.
Okay, so summarizing the risks. A really strong vision, yes, backed by some heavy hitters from Sony and big Japanese companies, plus that official stamp of approval in Japan. But they're fighting against a really tough history with their token price, a development style that looks closed off, a user base that's still tiny compared to their goals, and potential legal roadblocks internationally. That's quite a lot to overcome.
It is, exactly. They are definitely aware of these risks and are actively trying to address them. Their 2025 roadmap focuses on pushing adoption, particularly with the Jasmy Chain L2 launch, and they commissioned an independent audit, which reported in September 2025, that did help clear up some of those past accusations about large token movements, specifically around $600 million worth of vouchers. So they are making moves. But yeah, the journey to achieving widespread decentralized data ownership is definitely an uphill battle for them.
Okay, wow. That was a really thorough breakdown covering both the exciting potential and the serious pitfalls. So for our listener, if you had to boil JasmyCoin down into just one or two sentences, like a quick takeaway, what would you say?
Okay, in a nutshell, JasmyCoin is this ambitious Japanese project kicked off by former Sony executives. It aims to give individuals like you real control over the data generated by your smart devices, your IoT data, and even let you monetize it. They use a unique mix of blockchain and IoT tech. And while it's really well regarded for its strong corporate partnerships in Japan and being the first crypto to get full regulatory approval there, it's still facing some major challenges. It needs to overcome that messy token history, become way more transparent about its development, and crucially get a lot more regular people actually using the platform.
Got it. So it's a project with a really impressive background, that Sony connection and a vision that's ambitious, maybe even revolutionary, but
Hmm.
it's definitely one that still has a lot to prove to the wider crypto world, especially when it comes to actually delivering on those core blockchain ideals of openness and decentralization.
That sums it up pretty well. High potential, significant hurdles remain.
What an interesting deep dive. I have to say, I'm particularly intrigued by that dual focus, not just controlling your data, but also potentially getting paid for it.
Hmm.
It feels like a genuinely fresh angle on the whole privacy discussion, which usually feels so negative, doom and gloom.
It does offer a more positive spin, yeah.
And the basic idea of regaining control over our data, that resonates so deeply with so many of us, doesn't it? Especially as all these smart devices just get woven deeper and deeper into our lives.
It really, really does. And Jasmy's specific approach, focusing on Japan's regulated market first, leveraging that strong corporate background, it definitely gives them a unique starting point in what's become a very crowded crypto space.
Yeah.
But as we've laid out, the journey to making that vision a reality, a truly decentralized user-first data economy that's transparent and widely adopted well, it's filled with both huge promise and some really significant obstacles.
It definitely leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it? A kind of provocative thought. As our lives get more and more tangled up with smart devices, with AI analyzing everything,
Yeah.
what value do you, listening right now, actually place on owning your own digital footprint? And how much is that control really worth in this world that's just becoming increasingly data-driven?
A very important question for all of us.
This is actually a great point to quickly pause and remind our listeners of something.
That's right. If you're enjoying how we break down these complex projects into hopefully simple pieces, and you want more reviews just like this one,
Wow.
make sure you subscribe to our channel, Crypto Box. We do all the heavy lifting, all the complex research, digging through reports.
So you don't have to.
Exactly, so you don't have to.